So, what if an animal's body isn't only mechanical and biochemical, but also electrical, magnetic, and responsive to fields around it? So, today our guest is going to explore with us what that all means and whether some of what we experience intuitively with animals may intersect with things science is growing to understand.
Come on, all you doggies, won't you walk with me? I'm the puppet dog.
Hi there, I'm Angelo Webb, and this is the Animal Intuitive channel. And I'm here to support you and your pets through animal communication, acupressure, and massage. And my guest today is Kim Kizzier Sherrodd, and she is the founder and director of the School of Applied Integrative Therapy, where she brings together the art and science of equine bodywork. And Kim, I just want to welcome you to the Animal Intuitive channel. I'm really excited to explore this with you. I think this is going to be a fascinating discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited about this. It's such an important part of the work that we do in body work. And now, as you know, we're also doing the acupressure as we have collaborated with Tallgrass Animal Acupressure, which brings in more of that energetic piece. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you, before we get into this presentation, which is going to be great, because I want to let you talk a little bit, just to give to people a little context for how you arrived at this work. You do have this background, immense background in hands-on animal body work, both equine and dogs and cats and what have you, but your work has evolved into exploring these things like energy fields and plasma, so we're going to get into that. So while I grab my charger because my computer's about to die, just let us know what happened along the way that led you from traditional bodywork into this much bigger way of looking at the animal. And I will be right back.
Thank you. Yes, I always, as a lot of us did as children, had this tapping into other realms. And then we're told as we grow up, and that's our imagination, and to forget about it. And somehow I was lucky enough to not completely forget about it. And I've always been interested in it and art. I went down the route of, I started in veterinary technology, but then went down the route of more studying herbology and planetary. I studied with a lot of traditional people. Then I went down the route of human massage school, and I was fortunate enough to go to a school that was called for more than just massage, but the whole integrated piece. I had teachers from all over the world, which exposed me to this wow factor. At the time, we weren't really talking about all of this in a science way. When we talked about energy, but we really learned how to utilize it and started taking that down the route of animals before it was really much of a thing. And over time, I just started collecting all the information and all the courses and classes, but the science piece kept me a little intrigued. So in my mid-30s, I thought, well, maybe I'll go to veterinary school, and went to finish all of my prereqs and started taking these science classes, and chemistry just woke me up, like all these electrons and photons and neutrons and how they move around. And it was just this, wow, that feels to me like what we know of as energy. But still, I didn't quite know who to find to help me down that way. I'm not a real science type of a person. So I have to study a little harder than some.
I hear
And
that.
yeah. Yeah, so I worked in veterinary clinics, and then just kept bringing this work back and back and back, and knowing what I feel in my hands and my intuition and all of the things within the whole natural world, but what animals bring to that picture, and how they're they seem more willing. They're not as guarded in their bodies or in their minds, or in their ability to let us know things. And if we open up to that and start tapping into that energetic field, wow, the things that start to wake up in us. So now we have some really amazing people that really do understand science, and they are putting it out there how these, yeah, the movement of these electrons and the energetic fields and electromagnetic can go so fast. And I've recently, in the last 5 years, I've been studying with Alberto Vialdo and the Four Winds and Sandra Ingerman in the last 10 years, and really learning how energy moves through pathways from a traditional medicine, energy medicine, some may call it shamanic type work, but just really tapping into how that works from a traditional sense, and then trying to tie it back. How does this work in a science?
That's
And
amazing. Yeah, that's
yeah, and
wonderful.
again, I don't pretend like I am a scientist and can say it. I'm one that just reads a lot and tries to put it together
Yeah,
because I
no,
know what I
absolutely.
feel. And like you,
Right.
like we know what we feel, we know what we hear, we know what's out there. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely wonderful to bring the two together. And you
Hmm.
know, you have some wonderful information prepared for our viewers. I'm going to bring that up in a moment. But also, we do have a chat going on. So I just want to welcome everybody who's joining us here today. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you so much for being here. If you have questions, you're in the chat, please let us know. And let's move on ahead and show this wonderful presentation that you have here.
Thanks. I'll try to do the best I can.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, so I put this together. I've been talking about energy fields and free electrons for a while, and now I'm starting to tap into this whole idea of plasma, which we'll talk about what it is and some people's concepts of it. There's a physics concept, but then how to take it even deeper into this world where we are, the intuition, the body work, what we're feeling in our hands, and yeah, and just inviting curiosity into this emerging science.
Amazing. Okay. So let's. I made it too small to find. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of you listening to this are probably already very aware of these things, but let's just talk about kind of what is a field, what is that? And I've been working for many, many years on just developing the field around us. And maybe it's a personal space field. We talk about that a lot in our work. However, we have some ability to recognize how far our field is and how our emotions might be part of it, how the energy that we're putting out and the energy we're allowing in is part of it. But the more aware we are of where that field is, this field of magnetism, um, this field of free electrons is how I'm starting to understand as electrons, the more free electrons we have, the more they can develop into molecules and atoms and things that we can use. And we get those free electrons by connecting to the earth, by grounding, by meditating, and coming to that space where we have a lot of free electrons around us. And when I really got into studying that and went into quantum biology studies that I'm doing right now, somebody mentioned something that stuck with me forever. They said, if we become depleted of these free electrons, and maybe we're just scattered, which is happening to me a little bit this week because I'm very busy, but we start to become depleted and we don't get grounded and we don't do our meditation and re-energize our field. We go out to work on or be with our animals, and we start stealing their free electrons because they're full of these free electrons mostly, unless they've been also depleted. And we unknowingly start stealing their free electrons. And that was such a wake up to
Hmm.
me, how important it is to become really aware. What is my field? How does it feel? Making sure to replenish my field before I start trying to be available for somebody else. And we see that all the time. In my opinion, we're starting to see more and more animals have human diseases than ever before. And I often ask myself, is that because we're starting to put them in the same environments we are with all the screens and all the things and all of our opinions and our intentions, and they're all good, but is that also stealing from their free electrons? And it's a question in my mind. I don't know if it's true, but
So that
those
I don't mean to
spaces.
interrupt you,
Yeah,
but can I
yeah,
ask a quick question?
absolutely. Yeah.
So they have they been able to see this on any? I don't know. Can they view this happening, like the electrons going back and
How
forth?
this happens? Um, well, those that really study science and remember the experiments can probably view, through electron microscopes things. Yeah, so maybe I don't have all the facts to say that, but it did wake me up to that fact. It's like I know
Yeah,
when I'm really depleted and I'm running hard and my energies are out there elsewhere and I haven't been grounding and I haven't been meditating. You know that feeling, right? You're
sure.
not real
Yeah.
sure where your space is, where it begins, where it ends. It starts to become. And as soon as we stop and take some breaths and we stop and we ground ourselves and we become cognizant and aware and recognize, we can really quickly refill that field and just feel stronger and feel more in my space. Sometimes it's easier than other times, but one of the things I was taught long time ago was to, like, ideally we would want our space to be about 18 inches away from us. Sometimes it's, or we can be felt way out there because of when we talk about plasma later, we'll talk about that. But if we can recognize, wow, my space is way out there, I'm just hitting people everywhere, or we talk about bumping bubbles. So if you think of it as a bubble, one of the assignments in our bodywork course is you have to go out in public. My favorite place is the grocery store because my bubble gets really big in the grocery store. I don't want anybody in my bubble while I'm shopping.
Right. Yeah.
And you notice when somebody hits it, right, really fast,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
way out there for me. And so I started putting that with the animals that we're working on. If I'm going to go work on an animal, when I ask permission to work on that animal, I need to know where my bubble is so I know when I've hit their bubble. So I can ask permission before I ever get to the animal, ask it when I get to the bubble. And if I don't know where my bubble is, how will I know where their bubble is?
Mm-hmm.
And so in my simplifying things, that feels like we can um, have some effect on the electromagnetism around us and
Right.
consciously pull it in so I know where I'm at. And um, it's always a work in progress, but um, and then we'll talk more about that electromagnetic connection because that's what the space in between. We know what the photons, the neutrons, the electrons are forming, these molecules and whatnot. We can see those, but what's all that space between? Where there's way more space between than there is actual particles that we know of in science. And so, and I'm sure a lot of you have already played with like the energy ball. Some people call it a chi ball, but if you want to play with this now or later, just being able to put your hands and just focus on the energy between your hands and see what you feel. And you might need to turn it. You might feel it more when it expands or comes closer. You might even feel like you're pulling taffy or something. But usually you might feel warmth, you might feel cool, you might feel like a magnetism, like you're pushing a magnet or pulling a magnet. And start to play with that and start to play with what that feels like, because that's that electromagnetic force. And that's what we have when we put intention in our hands and we're going to touch an animal or a person or anything. We have that. We are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for in the space between. And even to take it further, if you want to play with that, once you get it really good, you can play with a friend and have them put their hand between yours and feel what that feels like, or in and out, and do it. And I always caution everyone, make sure you're very well grounded.
Yeah.
Because I've had people, it feels like sparks coming out their shoulders. They've told me all kinds of things. If you're not grounded, it's just like sticking your finger in a light socket. It's that powerful. So it's a really fun thing to play with. And that's what animals feel when we're putting our, whether it's our hands or even our intention, they're feeling that. And it's powerful stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I can even give an example from very recently. I was
Yeah.
working on something and just kind of on overload with too many things on the table. And my energy, I kind of knew that my energy already wasn't as grounded as it should be or as contained as it should be. But I was sort of like, let me just get through this. Let me just get through this. And this often happens like when I have too many projects and I'm working on the computer,
Mhm.
and there's something about the computer too that just, maybe we'll talk a little bit. Maybe you found some stuff in your work about that. But my German Shepherd is very connected and sensitive to what's going on with me. Both my dogs are, but he started licking his elbow like excessively. And there was nothing, he hadn't been doing it before. There was nothing there. He was just, you could tell it was like nervous energy. And I was like, oh, this, I'm doing this to him in a sense. Like I'm causing this. And, so I had to stop and ground myself and take a look at that. And they're, wonderful mirrors for us. They show us what we need to work on.
Yeah,
But anyway, I
that's
didn't mean to
awesome.
interrupt you, but
No, I love
so
those
fit
stories.
the thing that
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I like to say, I like to we need to give ourselves grace and just rather than I'm causing it, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
having an effect here. Like,
Hmm.
and if I am aware, oh gosh, I just need to ground and
Speaking of which, somebody's coming in. I'm gonna lower my mic. I'm gonna mute myself for a second because my dogs are going off.
okay, all right. That's funny. So yeah, um, we were having an effect there, I guess, maybe a little bit. Uh, but yeah, when we go between the spaces, that's when we start to have this distance perception and this healing intention and intuition and all the things that come with it. We can become more cognizant of what's happening and become more aware of our connections to what is the space between and how fast that might carry and what we might be able to pick up on and how everything is just a vibration, and whether it's a thought or a feeling or our hands, everything is this electromagnetic vibration and that moves out into the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a little barking still, but hopefully it's calmed down.
Oh,
Okay. So okay. So going from that into I'm not sure I totally get the concept. I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit more when you say the spaces in between and how those affect what we're talking about.
yeah,
Um,
so we might be able to talk about it more when we get to, and that's where I
sure.
probably should have went back to some of my old slideshows that you can watch that show back to more what molecules and whatnot. And so in the center of an atom, we have the nucleus, which is the protons and the neutrons, and they're in there, and they have this charge, and this charge is collecting electrons, and when an electron is freed from a nucleus, the nucleus becomes an ion, and so we have these ions in our body, right? Like these are our electrolytes that are in our body, and they move around with this positive charge, and then they can collect these negative free ions and then recalculate, remake themselves. But that's what happens is we have these ions and we have these electrons that are attracted based on the charges. And what's all that space in between? What's that electromagnetic thing? Say if you maybe say those stars that you see around electromagnetic magnetism are either whole atoms, maybe they're whole atoms, because then atoms start to collect, and make whole molecules, and then molecules, and then pretty soon we have whole bodies and different things, organs and bodies and systems. But what's all that space in between all those stars? Like, what is that, right? And I don't know that we completely know, but we do know that that is where electro and I don't remember if I put the next slide because we took some out, but um, electricity moves because of the way what's happening when these electrons are starting to attach, right? And they're attaching and unattract, and it makes electric, and the electric starts to make waves, and waves start to move through in those spaces, and then magnetism starts to collect around those waves, and then by those things moving, that might create another atom to, the electrons to leave again, and now we have free electrons and ions again. And those are where, when we talk about plasma, those are where then it takes electromagnetic energy to recalculate, and it can move just so fast through the universe. And so when we talk about maybe intuition or interspecies communication, how maybe time doesn't really exist that much because it can just move that fast, because we're not looking at just the particles, we're looking at the whole connections,
Yeah.
where they go. Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's all connected, we can look back, or the information is still there. In other words, is what you're saying, because of the connection, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, and then as they, these molecules and these ions and these free electrons start to reconnect somewhere else, we have an effect on how it reconnects through the energy that we're able to, the energy that's going through it, I should say. And my belief is that through our intention and through our use of energy, we do have that capability of making changes. So thus, distance energy work and things like that, why it still works.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful way to bring it to sort of we kind of all know this stuff and we talk about it, but it is wonderful to talk more about the science behind it. It makes it more real to some extent, I think, for people.
It makes it real,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Not just because I believe in
Theory,
all the
yeah.
woo-woo. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I like to, yeah. We did work with one of my teachers, Sandra Ingerman, where with a lot of people, and they went to a place, and we were told the location on the map, so to speak. We were from all over the world, and we did an intention where we surrounded this room with, just love and healing and whatnot. And they put a lot, like they sick plant, they put maybe like a peach that had dried up. They had a little girl that had, I don't remember what her affliction was, but she had some kind of affliction. They had some animals in there. And just to watch the changes that actually happened were incredible.
Wow.
And Sandra's done the same thing. They used to do it in person, where they'd take a glass of water that they put a chemical that they knew was so toxic it would kill you if you drank it, and they would test it, and then everyone would surround that glass with just intention and whatnot, and in the end they'd test it and it was drinkable. And she said, this was years ago, she was at a place that what's the place in Scotland where everybody does this kind of stuff, and she was there teaching, and those people said, oh, we don't need the test, and they all just drank the water. And they just trusted it that much. So
Wow.
just knowing that we have so much control over the energies that we put out there,
Yeah.
and it's really, really cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Very important for our animals. Should I go to the next slide, or was there more on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I already forget what's next.
Okay. And thank you, Cheryl. I'm loving this discussion. She's speaking the truth. Yes, definitely.
Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, one of our things I talk about a lot in our bodywork courses is just really tapping in again to how powerful the energy in our hands, in our hearts, and our intuition is. And so this slide more has some more to do with just touch and maybe body work, but we all are touching all the time. And so we're feeling first with our energy field. And then, like I said, we're asking permission when our energy field, and hopefully we have that controlled, we know where it is, hits the energy field of the animal or the person or the idea or whatever it is, we ask permission to move in first. And that doesn't have to be, I'm going to stop and I'm going to tune in, I'm going to ask permission. It can just simply be the acknowledgement really quickly that I know my energy field hit yours, and that you'll see the animals often turn and just kind of, oh, I saw that you saw that, and I
Mhm.
didn't just burst right through and go, I'm gonna heal you.
Right,
But
yeah.
first I stopped, I acknowledged, made sure, and then sometimes you do feel that like they kind of said no, and then that's where we sit and we just kind of give it a minute, take a breath and check again. And um and then as our hands actually start to approach, then we have this intention, we have this inner knowing and understanding of our own selves first, and then just following that flow and listening and acknowledging and continuing to trust and to honor as we move through the process. And this can be with our hands, it can be with distance, it can be even in a conversation. Just I keep going back to the fact that I think we all were born with this and we were so taught out of it, our
Yeah.
society and the way things are. And um you know, to know our parents, I was a parent too, and I know I did it, like we want our kids to survive in the world that we live in. And so we start to say, yeah, that's your imagination, you grow up now, just put that away. And so many of us have lost that. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what
Mhm.
we have to get back to more.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if I can do anything at this stage of the game and my age and whatnot, it's to validate that in everybody and just try to help everyone have space to reach back into that space, because that's really who we are. Yeah.
Right. And so important to teach it when young. Um,
Hmm.
just needs to be part of our society. Like you said, we've gotten away from it. And so, very
Yeah.
important. And the asking permission for sure. Because for some of them, it's like, I mean, I actually have a cat who doesn't, she doesn't prefer me. Um,
I hate when
she
that happens.
loves and adores my husband. It's like the king is home when he comes home, and me, I'm the feeder. I'm the give you everything you want, keep your litter box clean, give you your food. And I really have to approach her carefully because to her, unless she comes to me, if I go to her, it is like I feel like almost an assault or something if I if I just go, "Rah, I want to pet you. I want to pet, whether it's energy work or just petting. So,
That's
yeah,
funny.
they
Cats are, anybody has a way of letting us know, right?
yeah, absolutely. She I adopted her to do it's a long story, but I wanted her to be my little model for this show. I mean, and our family cat. I mean, I don't mean I just adopted
Yeah.
her to do that, but that didn't work out so well. I have an episode where she was new to us and she attacked me on the show. My husband tried to hand her to me, and she was like,
No.
"Yeah, I want
That's
dad."
hilarious. Oh, they have
She's
a way of keeping
adorable.
us humble.
Yeah, precisely. That is her whole. She is here to keep me humble. That's what she's done. Absolutely.
That's
She's
awesome.
lucky. She's extremely cute. Um, okay, so should I move on to the next
Yes, please.
slide? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is just a little, just, a thought process is all these different ancient traditions and things we might talk about are all just another map of the what seems like unseen energy, but it's been known for so long. And so, chi, the energy of all things, and prana, and in some belief systems call it prana, the meridian system that's fascinating to me, that moves through the body and places we can tap in with those acupoints, all these energy systems, chakras. I work more and more with those all the time, in the Andean shamanic energy medicine. I've found fascinating how much they work with chakras, because we think of those as Middle Eastern, East Indian type of things, but
Right.
somehow that lineage carried all the way down to the into Peru, and way up into the Andes. And so they work with the same energy systems. And so there's an energy that hits those chakras, but it's also, a nerve plexus. There's also, uh, there's so many things physically that are in those chakras, but it's an energy system as well. And just vital force, and the luminous field, that what we might think of as an aura, all these things that people have talked about for so long, prayer and ceremony and intention. And I do different trainings on kind of all of these concepts. And so I just wanted to bring that in, that this isn't new woo-woo stuff. We're just
Right.
realigning it into our language or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, here's my new kind of rabbit hole, is this plasma, in which in physics is the fourth state of matter. So if we have a solid and we add heat or energy to a solid, it's going to turn to a liquid. If we have a liquid and we put heat or energy to a liquid, say we're boiling some water, it turns into a gas. It turns into this gas in the world. But if we put heat or energy to plasma, or to gas, it turns into what they call plasma, which I was saying before is the state of these free floating positive ions and negatively charged electrons that are just floating around. They're pure potential. And then there's electromagnetic forces that move through them and help them align and whatnot. And so at first, when I first started getting into this concept of, I wanted to make sure that, excuse me, everyone knows blood plasma. What we know that they take out of our blood and separate it is not physics plasma, different thing.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me.
No, that's fine.
Yes, we can move on.
Okay.
So, excuse me, plasma is everywhere. So the sun is plasma, and stars are plasma. And when lightning strikes into the air and into the earth, it creates plasma that moves out into everything. The aurora borealis, the northern lights, they're charged particles that interact with the Earth's upper atmosphere and the magnetic field of the Earth. So all those beautiful colors and things that we see are plasma. A flame from a fire, when it's hot and it starts to have the colors and the dancing and all that, plasma. And created from us, neon signs, fluorescent lamps, they use plasma to light. So science is using it in a lot of places, but I get more into things like lightning and auroras, and because
Okay.
that's what lights me up.
No, that's fascinating.
And
I never attributed the word plasma to those. So definitely
yeah, I know.
learning here. Yeah.
Just the stuff that was in blood, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's more. So, and the really cool thing then is plasma can organize itself. And so when these charged particles start to interact with these electromagnetic forces and over distances that are so much greater than like an individual particle can collide, like we learn in science with, electrons and neutrons and the whole thing. Um, uh, it's just like it's incredible to me, like how fast and how we don't really know that, but there's this collective behavior. So like the murmurations of the birds, everything's just flowing and changing and moving. So plasma can organize itself through waves, through oscillations, through filaments, current sheets, because it's creating this magnetic current, vortices, instabilities, boundaries, organized structures. All these things can start to organize because we have these positive and negative um, fields being affected by these electromagnetic charges. And then as they start to organize, they create more electromagnetic charges. And pretty soon we can just have this whole murmuration of energy, and we can follow that and see where it takes us. And that gets more into the magical and the mystical and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would like to probably say also about plasma, there's a lot of people talking about it now. Eileen McCusick with Biofield Tuning, she has spent 25 years doing multiple studies, and she uses sound and tuning forks and different types of tuning forks. And she has really learned how to tap into the biofield with the sound, and she's doing a lot with plasma right now. Dana Kipple is writing all kinds of papers, and I just ordered her 700-page book that I'm so excited about. And she really takes, yeah, I don't know how far we'll get. Sometimes I'm a picture person, but um, but it's just how far does that relationship between the positives and the negatives and electromagnetism, how far can it extend? So when we talk about, yeah, animal communication, intention, consciousness, relationships, um, what is time and space, and are they really just an illusion? And how far and how fast can it travel through this plasmic idea? And they are learning more and more scientifically, which is exciting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not
Yeah,
just being dismissed as like you said, just a woo-woo thing that things are starting to get, even with meridians, they're starting to, with acupressure and acupuncture, they're starting to really come out with studies that show this is real. This isn't just a made up thing. Did I go too
right.
fast through your slides? Should I go back
No,
over here?
we're just
Okay.
fine. We're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Like it's not just a old ancient textbook somebody picked up and thought was cool. Like this is totally real. And
Yeah.
and the more we do that work, right? Like I we just hosted a class recently, and um Kim Bauer came and taught with us, and as long as I've been doing acupressure, which is like 20 years, I was just blown away. Like, that is the coolest thing. I just watched that change. We um, affected some meridians that the kidney bladder, and I have an older horse, and she was just eating my salt like crazy. Just I have bowls of loose salt. Just every time she ate, she would eat it and eat it. And we did some adjustments to those meridians, and now just hardly ever. So it's pretty, just like, yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
There's no
Yeah,
reason it's all still around.
exactly. And hopefully we haven't lost as much as sometimes, hopefully we haven't lost too much. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is to me part of the mystery and the magic, of this whole concept, is how powerful electromagnetic forces, intention and intuition really are. And then this is where Dana Kipple is really taking it, is then looking at consciousness. So where does consciousness actually reside? And we've been told over time that consciousness is our brain, that it comes into the brain, and that it's all these chemical things that are happening in our brain. Um, but if that is the truth, like, then where does trauma reside, and fear? Where does fear reside? And we know it can stick in tissues, because as we work, we can feel these things coming up. Sometimes we don't know where they come from, but maybe the horse or the dog or the cat that you loved 20 years ago, it's like a real thing, that love, that connection you had. Where does that live?
Hmm.
And and just the experience of being alive, and it's not just a chemical thing that happens locally. It's like this whole thing. And Greg Braden is now doing all kinds. He's traveling all over the world teaching maybe where some of these things actually live. They don't maybe actually live in our brains and in our bodies, but
Yeah.
around us, in the field around us. And Lynn McTaggart, who travels with him quite a bit, has been 25 years doing studies and the intention experiments, and really showing that distance doesn't matter.
Hmm.
When yeah, it can have such an effect. But they're doing the work of proving these things in studies, which is appreciative, because we're
Yeah.
at a stage in our um, wherever we are in the world, we just want proof about it. We just want proof. We don't want to just
Yeah.
believe something's magic.
Yeah. But, I
Yeah.
think the good thing though is that I think people are, I hate to use this like term, like, waking up, but I feel like
Mhm.
it isn't just, or you see it, that people are starting to question things and
Mhm.
not be so quick to dismiss things that they used to dismiss because it was just
Yeah.
said, oh, that's just, whatever. Um, and so I think this is the time is now where people are, it's
Mhm.
becoming a bigger, broader something with our consciousness. People are more open to, okay, wait, what really is going on here? And it's okay
Exactly.
to question, like, some of these things are maybe real, that things are
Yeah.
connected in the past, in the future, yeah, we haven't known
And
everything.
why?
We're finally,
Right. I think we know less right now than we probably ever did.
yeah.
But, and then to really take this deeper, Dean Radin, who has written a couple books, he's spent his entire life, he's in his 70s now, studying and actually doing studies on magic, basically. And he is fascinating. He worked for the government, he worked for some of the major universities out there. And he is so fascinating to listen to. But he recently, I was listening to him, and he was telling a story about what we carry in our DNA and the stories that happen. And I'm hoping I'm going to get this right. But they did a study. They took some highly intuitive people and they tested them down to so many that really felt very intuitive. And they took their DNA and they did studies with them. And then they took other people that didn't pass the test of being highly intuitive. And what they thought they would find was these highly intuitive people would have something special in their DNA that showed they really had something.
Oh, I
They
heard
didn't.
about this. I did hear
Yeah,
about
they were
this.
just
Yeah.
kind of normal. And what they did find was the people that were not intuitive actually had a blocker, like in their DNA, that was blocking the expression through epigenetics from being
Right.
able to go to the intuition. And then he took it a little bit further and said what they found was the people that were more likely to not be able to enhance that intuition piece had lineage that were maybe from the Dark Ages
Yeah.
and the Inquisitions and things like that. So that
Wow.
was fascinating to me, that we maybe have been shielded from our own abilities to connect from whatever reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, the epigenetics is so interesting to think what
Hmm.
the things are carried through your DNA in your family, um,
Yeah.
lineage. That's so fascinating, and it makes sense to a lot of people. There's things that I have things that little issues here and there where I'm like, where did that even come from? Like, it doesn't make
Hmm.
sense, And then I
Yeah.
think about my grandparents and what they've been through, or what they went through, and I'm like, that would make more sense if this was something that came from grandma, who came to here from Italy and couldn't speak English and had 9 kids, and her husband died when my father was 2, and that makes more sense to me, that going through the Great
Yes.
Depression and all this stuff. than my life, what I've
Right.
experienced.
And then
So
which things we turn on through the epigenetic, and then that we do have some control over that, which things we can turn on and turn off. And not
yeah,
saying it would be easy, but they're teaching more Bruce Lipton and all of his work and just showing, um, yeah, that story lives in me, whether I remember it or not. It's there. And then do I want to connect with that story, or do I want to say, no, I think I'm going to take my DNA to this other piece that's,
yeah, that's the next
yeah.
step. How do we, I don't want to say
Hmm.
break it, but how do we let go of that, whatever? So
Right.
he's talking more
Yeah.
about that. That's really
So
fascinating.
that's some emerging science. So I am always taking all of this and then going back to the animals and say, well,
Yeah,
how much of this do they have? And it's pretty obvious that the more we domesticate certain species, the more they seem to take on of these epigenetic blocks. So are we projecting that to ask them to buy into our stuff, and they're so willing and beautiful that they are willing? Um,
right. That's
yeah,
such a good question. Yeah.
yeah.
And then you wonder, what are they carrying from their grandparents and their great grand.
Hmm.
It's like, I've given you a wonderful life. Why are you still so anxious and so
Right. Or just the instincts that different breeds bring along with them, or,
Yeah.
a horse that's been bred for generations to be a really fast horse, or a really,
Yeah.
can turn or chase a cow, and how that keeps sticking.
Right.
And yeah, it's amazing to me.
Yeah, we just accept that as instinct, but there's potentially more to that that spreads into other areas of their psyches, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Um,
There is. As an animal intuitive, I would love to talk with you more about that sometime, and like what's deep in there. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it sounds like it's the work you're doing. And speaking of which, how can people find you if they want to work with you or take your classes, etc.?
Yeah, and we are just changing our website, so hopefully it'll be up in the next week or so, but SchoolAIT.com. But if you want to get in touch with me directly, you can just be Kim at SchoolAIT.com. I have another whole piece that's more into this energetic realm, and some of my work in energy medicine, and some of the shamanic things. I It's thesoulinmyhand.com, and I'll be
Okay.
offering some things hopefully this winter, more on intuition. And yeah, I wish these studies were there when you were a child. I didn't
Yeah.
see the rest of that.
So maybe I wouldn't have gotten teased on I could connect
Yeah.
with animals. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so important,
Yeah.
yeah, to get that
So you
back.
start to hide it, and which is so
Yeah.
sad. I was at a ceremony one time, this man did medicine man ceremony, and there was a young man, I think he was 7 or 8, probably 8. He was there, and the stories he told after the ceremony, the things he saw, that, because he was still of that age. And I still remember that medicine man telling his mom, tell him, do not go to school and say this to anybody. Don't go to your church. Don't go to your groups, like, because they will tell him it's not real, and he'll forget this amazingness that he has. So,
Yeah. Well, gosh,
yeah,
that's wonderful. He got that information.
yeah.
Sorry, there must have been a cat in the other room because I'm hearing like the door being like, I thought they were all free, but somebody must be in there. Um,
Funny.
well, I'll also I don't think I have that link in the description. I'll double check for schoolait.com, but it's right here too, right under Kim's name. It just doesn't have the .com, but it's
Yeah,
schoolait.com.
dot
Okay.
com, and Kim at, if you want to email me.
Kim
Yeah.
at schoolait.com
Yeah.
to email you
Yeah.
directly. Okay.
I committed to a weekly newsletter, Thoughts with Kim. So I'm going down some of these rabbit holes in the Sunday newsletter. So,
Oh, neat. Okay. That's wonderful. So
yeah.
people should sign up for that by directly contacting you or.
Yeah, and the link will be on our new website, which again should be out in the next week or
Oh,
so. The
fascinating.
link to
Okay.
sign
It's
up for
fabulous.
the newsletter will be there. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Is there
Yeah.
anything that we didn't talk about that you feel like we need to go back to that you wanted to mention?
Um, I don't. I feel like we opened up a lot of thoughts here, if you have anything or if anybody else does that you want me to touch on.
I don't see any questions left, but I'm definitely like going to be mulling this over and taking it all in because there's a lot to it. There's a lot of pieces to it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
so many. Yeah, it
yeah.
was a lot to pack into one little
But that's
bit, but
okay. We get people starting to think, and then maybe, you might want to think about reaching out to Kim and taking a class with her and expanding your knowledge if this was interesting to you. And also, if you did benefit from this at all, I really appreciate people liking, sharing. We, need that help with YouTube. They like that. They push it through the algorithm more if they see. And we want to hear in
yeah.
the comments from you too. It did things like that we've talked about. Did they raise any questions, or did you relate to things we were talking about? We'd love to hear from you and about your pets. So you can also, this will be out on a podcast channels probably the next couple weeks because we have the audio out on those channels too, like Spotify. And I want to thank you, Kim, so much for sharing this fascinating information with everybody. We really appreciate you being here. This is really informative.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, everyone
Yeah.
who's watching too.
And thank you for having this channel and opening up these conversations and doing the work that you do. And it's really filling a spot. So,
Yeah, it means a lot to me to have a place to be able to give people a platform other than just myself to talk. And yeah, I know I used to be a very frequent poster, but we, I'll be honest, it became a little discouraging with YouTube because I was really trying to put out quality material. And it seemed like all they really push, not all they do push, but I was finding kind of a discouragement around. I kept, it'll show you other videos, people who kind of do what you do, and it was all about animals in spirit, or a
mhm.
lot of it was animals in spirit. And I'm not saying that that's a problem, or but it was like YouTube didn't want to show what I was talking about because I wasn't constantly talking about animals in spirit. And
Um,
it's I guess it comes up a lot because people are looking for that. People are grieving, or they're
mhm.
experiencing that loss, and it is something I talk about on the channel. But I also want to help people with their animals in life to live a better life. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I just put out this video. It took me hours to record, edit, produce, and I'm getting 10 views. And I'm like, I have work to do here, other than just put out videos that don't get the promotion. So, and then we ran into some issues with one of my pets last year. I kind of put out a short video about that this spring, and I really wanted to focus on helping her. So, I do have some videos coming up. I've got 3 videos. So I'm just doing what I can and what feels right. I'm more
Yeah.
just intuitively putting out what I'm guided to do instead of feeling like I should just churn and put out videos just about
Yes.
anything that, just to beat the algorithm or whatever. That's not my interest. So that's
Yeah.
why. So
I
that's
think
a very
that's
long
really
answer.
important because they keep telling you if you want to do something, you have to post constantly, you have to talk constantly,
Yeah.
and then pretty soon there's a lot of not so great content. And so I
Right.
appreciate
It's the
that.
same
Yeah.
thing. It's the same topic. It's the same, and I'm just like, I can't, I mean,
Hmm.
how many times can you say the same thing about, you know, but
Yeah.
if you do want to find me, you can find me at intuitivetouchanimalcare.com, and I'll have that in the description, and my school is linked through there, Animal Intuitive Academy. But and also please check out Misha's Heart Adventure. It's over my shoulder. It's my book for
Yeah.
kids, and it really relates to what we're talking about because I wrote that book with the intention of helping people to help kids at an early age recognize that there is that connection even at a distance. So the dog gets lost and she's away from her family, and it's kind of an intro to animal communication, just to have kids that plant that seed and light that spark of like,
Mhm.
or help them just to recognize I'm doing this already. I'm 4, but I'm picking up what my cat's telling me.
Oh, I
So,
love that. So
you
you
know,
start validating them early on so they don't lose it. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And it's also about
Yeah.
emotional regulation to help kids who maybe are having difficulty with that. And 50% of the proceeds right now go to the Warrior Dog Foundation. They support animals and rehabilitate
Ah,
animals, and animals who are canine heroes who have served military, police, whatever. Get them back over here and rehabilitate them, and also connect them with their handlers if possible, the handlers that they had. And they set up these, we have episodes on them, but 50% of the proceeds do go to them right now. So it helps
nice.
support them. They're a wonderful organization. But anyway, I didn't mean to go on about that. But
Fabulous.
so,
Yeah, and your classes are great. I've sat in on a few of your
oh gosh, thank
things,
you.
and they're great. And you make things so easy. Like just like you don't
Oh,
make it
that's
all
so kind.
complicated and woo woo. Like it's like, oh yeah, it's right there. So it's so cool.
Thank you very much. That's kind of my
Yeah.
brain, simple. No. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of kidding, but kind of not. So I, but again, thank you so much, and please everyone do subscribe so that you can be updated about, and hit the bell so you'll be updated about upcoming episodes. And thank you so much for watching, and God bless you and your animal family members.
Rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly. Rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly. I like my ears rubbed.